Good evening, folks. Thanks very much for coming in. We hope you're all safe and you're all very, very welcome. Tonight we are talking to Mr. Dan Acosta and Shane. Now, excuse me if I pronounce this wrong, Shane. Moz.
No, that's pretty close to right.
Is that pretty close? Excellent.
Yes, it's German, so Moss. Yeah, the German version of mouse.
Good. I like it when I get the name right first time. It seems a wee bit embarrassing for myself. So, spot on. Both Shane. I've got your name straight off as well, Dan. So, it's all good. It's all good stuff. Shane and Dan are both part of CRA Entertainment. They were kind of backstage crew on the movie The Crumbs and also the upcoming movie Demon Fighter as well. We'll also get Shelley in. Shelley, who you all met on Monday night, she's just joined. Sarah's not with us tonight. She's in the chat. She's not feeling too well. And we've got Laura. So let's see who's in the chat. We've got Chaos and we've got Nicole and Laura's here as well. And Sarah's lurking. Oh, there's Sam just joined us. 2 seconds. I had Sam in. Hiya.
Hello, Sam. Hi.
Hi. How's it going?
I'm good, thanks. You?
Doing well.
Dan, Shane, this is Sam. She's the other girl who joined us. She just came on board with us. So thanks very much for coming in, guys. It's a pleasure to have you.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Not a problem. Well done on the Crumbs.
Thank you.
Really, really good film. As I said, I've watched it 4 times. And, it's just as enjoyable the 4th time as it was the first time around. And I'll probably watch it again as well, to be honest with you. So, whoever wants to go first, tell us a wee bit about yourself and what is it that you do. I'll let you fight out amongst yourself who's going to talk first.
I'll let Shane go, man. He's probably more well-rounded about that than I am.
Whatever. So I'm Shane Moss. I am working with CRA Entertainment. I've been in the film industry for about 10 years and kind of came up the hard way through like indie film. Like I didn't get the studio treatment, so I've basically learned along the way. And Dan was one of the people that I've kind of just met along my journey because he works here locally, and so we've worked together a number of times now.
Yes, we have.
You're also an editor, a writer, an actor, a producer, a director. Yeah.
So essentially, I'm an introvert. So my thing was primarily an interest in crew stuff behind the scenes, and I am a visual person, so I really like doing camera work stuff. And I have done editing, though. Like I said, I've come up indie, so that means we have to do pretty much everything because we don't have a full staff of people doing individual jobs. If we're not doing it, it doesn't get done. So I can definitely do all of that stuff. Camera stuff is the stuff I prefer to do, and I've learned through doing this is that what I get the most attention for is being in front of the camera because people can see me. And so they're really interested when they can see me doing stuff. And so because of that, I've allowed myself to do more stuff in front of the camera.
Do you prefer in front of the camera or behind the camera?
I prefer behind the camera. But it depends on what I'm doing in front of the camera. I've tried to typecast myself as a badass person in front of the camera. And if I can do badass stuff, I'm perfectly happy with doing it. Like it's fun. It's a lot of fun doing cool stuff.
You've got that kind of look about you. I don't mean it in a bad way. You've got that kind of look about you, with the beard and the vest, the jacket on, and what have you, and the typical kind of biker look, if that makes sense. So I think you'd fit the badass role, no problem. Just looking at you. And I mean that in a respectful way. Not in a disrespectful.
No, I'm perfectly happy. That is the goal, sir. So you're that's a compliment.
Yeah, when we hang out together, I feel safe when I'm in his presence.
You feel, do you feel threatened when you go out alone? I mean, you kind of get the badass look about you as well, you know.
Man,
Well,
I'm
Dan is
more of a happy look.
No, Dan, you are the shit stirrer, man. He's the one. He's the one that because of his beard or because he says something that somebody might not take it very well, and he's hoping that I guess I will help him out of these situations.
I've been known to be blunt at times.
Yeah, definitely blunt. That's a nice way to put it.
Your mouth takes off before your brain does. Is that what you...
So notice his company name is Happy Death. So yes, it's happy, but it's death. So I mean, there's kind of like a contrast there.
No, man, no.
That's Dan. That's pretty much Dan.
No, happy death is actually more pleasant than it sounds. I mean, when you die, don't you want to die knowing that you achieved everything you possibly could in this life form? And if you do, that would make you content and happy, right? Therefore, the happy death.
I mean, that's something that insiders know, but outsiders may not know that. Yes, actors love to die in films because it's a fairly important thing that happens, especially in horror films. I mean, if you guys are into horror film, you understand that there are some really cool death scenes in horror films, and if you get to be one of those, it is awesome.
Yes.
There is. I do. You excuse me a wee minute. I'm sitting in Sarah's chair, not mine, and I think I just pressed a button on it that I shouldn't. So if I kind of rise up a wee second, then you'll know why. I think I just. That's a bit better. I felt myself sort of sinking down. You know what I mean?
Bad hydraulics.
Getting shorter. Yeah.
There's about 2 or 3 matches. Get one handle. Sarah's get 2 or 3. And sometimes you press the wrong handle, you know.
Oh, yeah.
Chaos. Great and morning. Chaos, he's from Alaska. He's initially from Florida, I think. I think he's been all over, kind of thing, but he's in Valak in Alaska, I think you pronounce it. So Dan, what's your kind of... Well, I already know what you do, but just to tell everybody watching what you do.
Yeah, but my name is Dan Acosta. I do special effects. The name of my company, or what I'd be called, is Happy Death FX Makeup. And what Shane was saying is I specialize in killing people.
Brilliant. That's great.
That's straight.
Yeah, basically, if somebody needs to be dead on set and they see me walking around on set, because I'm not always on set every day, but sometimes I'm called on different days throughout the shoot.
Somebody's going to die.
Yeah, that's what they say. So, somebody must be dying today. Dan's here.
So that's right, Sam. So when you turn up on set, do the actors kind of start worrying if it's going to be them or not?
Like the Grim Reaper.
Exactly. So, because I have played the character that kills actors on set, but Dan is more or less the Grim Reaper, which means that while I do the action and fire the bullet, Dan is the reaction. He's the dead person he is the person that makes the other person on the other end dead.
Yes.
And look good.
I have a collection of souls on my shelf.
Right, so don't get on the wrong side of you. Basically, don't get on the wrong side. And Nicole's asking, what is your favourite? Well, Dr. Death just walked in. That'd probably a new name, Dan, Dr. Death. What's your favourite killing someone?
I played high school football and a little bit in junior college and whatnot. And that was actually a nickname I had donned in football. I even had a little handkerchief that read Dr. Death on it. So that's funny that somebody said that. That's like way old.
So have you got a favourite method of dispatching someone?
There's been a couple. There was a movie I worked on I want to say about 2 years ago, where we crowbarred somebody in the head, and that was a lot of fun.
Right.
Yeah,
Is it?
it went right into the eye socket, and it was pretty gnarly. And I have to say, one of my favorite ones where the person actually didn't die was on the Crumbs with the bullet scene where they're digging the bullet out of the guy's stomach. That was a that was a fun one.
So I was in Paramount and making sure that scene lasted longer than I think that originally was intended, because that is the whole point, man. That agony, man, is all about you. That's what you want people to feel, that agony, man.
Yeah.
I must admit, I did feel it.
You go say.
I said I must admit I did feel that pain when he was getting that bullet taken out.
It looked great, and the actor did a great job of playing that up, man. So yeah, it was well done. That scene was well done.
Yep. Hi, Sean. Thanks for coming in, buddy. We seem to have lost Dan for some reason.
I'm sure he'll be back. But Dan has also killed me in a movie. So I'm in a film as a henchman in a TFO film called Grunk the Smasher. And I take a hatchet to the head that Dan rigs up.
Oh, it's a machete.
A machete to the head, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
sorry, yeah. I bleeped out. I pushed the wrong button. I was trying to read comments.
That's okay. I was prepping for you to pop back in. You got here just in time.
Beautiful. Yeah, it was. I don't know what you said, but the machete thing was funny. It was. I was not told about the machete. That was something I had to do on the spot. Normally, I would like to have a week to a month to build the prop and whatnot. But the people said, okay, so today we're going to go ahead and slice this into Shane's head. So it probably took me, 20, 30 minutes to figure it out? Something like that?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
We had time because they were... Yeah.
Yeah, it came out pretty good. I liked it.
Hey,
yes, we absolutely do know the show Face Off. Of course.
I do too. I tried out for Face Off 5 times and got denied 5 times. So
I thought that was a movie.
It's a TV show. It's a special effects TV show. It's like a challenge.
Yeah, it's also a movie too. It's also a movie.
Is it not?
Face Off is also a movie. Yes, correct. Yeah. It's also a movie as well.
Travolta and Cage, I think.
Nicolas Cage and John Travolta.
Yeah.
I think as well, you can feel the pain. I think that makes a good movie as well. If the wounds, you get some films, and I've watched a few of them. I'm not going to name them obviously, but the special effects, like the stab wounds and the other bits and pieces, they just feel totally fake. But I think it really does make a movie.
Thanks, Nicole.
If the wounds and what have you look realistic, and they do make you sort of cringe and what have you. I mean, the competition Face Off, cool stuff to watch how they make a monster. So what got you into killing people, Dan? I know that sounds bad, doesn't it? But you're killing people, but
that's fine. It's fine. I have pigs in the backyard, so nobody will find them.
That's all right. You know where they are anyway, just in case. You know where they're all located.
I'm sorry, what was that?
You know where all the bodies are buried.
Yes. Well, over time, my memory gets a little hazy. I am getting older.
So that probably works in your favor, because if the bodies are in your yard, man, that's pretty much a screwed setup, man. You're done.
It is.
Yeah.
I've also got dogs that like to dig, so they're not in my backyard.
Oh, okay, makes sense.
I would have put them in the neighbour's backyard or something, possibly.
So when I'm doing makeup for, I don't know if this is going to answer any of the questions that was asked, but when I'm doing makeup and somebody has to die, obviously there's different extremes. There's realism, and then there's like over the top comic, total B budget style deaths. But when I have to do something that goes into the effect of realism, I have to do a lot of research, and I look at a lot of real wounds, real things that happen to people, and I play with that a little bit with whatever I have, and lots of pictures, and the only one that's ever really bothered me is I had to do a shotgun wound to the face. And the guy wanted half the head blown off, blank range. Well, anybody knows anything about shotguns, that doesn't happen. So I had to come up with a way to figure out how that would work. And then I found a couple of videos of people that actually happened to, where half their face was still on after a shotgun blast. And that was pretty hard to watch. But, it's for the sake of the art, I guess, right?
Mm-hmm.
Was that Trebuchet movie?
Yes.
Yes, I remember that. Yeah.
So
that was probably my biggest challenge.
Since Stan is local, obviously, we're kind of a little bit familiar of the various things that get done around here.
Right. So I take it we're all into blood and guts then. All like the bloody movies, people getting sort of ripped apart and what have you.
I think watching it in a movie is different to actually having to watch real life to study it. I mean, that is a bit brutal for me to think about doing. So, hats off to you for managing that one.
Thanks.
Yeah, so one of the issues that because he does the neck bleed in the Crumbs as well, and that was kind of just a hard gag to run, and so, but it still looks really cool to have blood spurting out of one of the victims, which is what he did in that scene.
That was a nightmare, man. That rig. It worked in all the trial runs, the test runs, and I even checked it before we were going to use it, like 30 minutes before the shot, and then it didn't work. And then I had to go back and redo a whole nother setup. I had to build a whole new prosthetic, and I think that took 2 hours, and then redid it again, and it still didn't work the way it was supposed to work. But because of the crew behind me, they were able to film that and make it look right. And they made me look better than what it was, because that whole thing was a complete failure in my book.
Yeah, but I mean that's what goes along with the whole indie film thing, like the juggling and how the teams can work together. Because again, sometimes how you shoot something can help fix something that somebody else is having a problem with. So really, the filmmaking process is super cohesive. Like everybody has to help the other people make the good film in the end, because everybody has a part in it, and the different areas can help other areas in some cases work with these challenges.
As teamwork, lots of D movies and horror, most of them are funny. I do love a good story in a horror movie. Not only killing and blood and bills, the story needs to feed the soul as well. I would you type with that, guys? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, I do. As a makeup artist, I don't like feel-good stories because that makeup's really boring, and the sets seem to be a little less fun, especially if you're doing like a serious movie or something that could happen in real life. So the sets usually become pretty somber. And I believe in good story as well. I mean, I don't do just blood and guts, but that's my main thing. I don't know about Shane. Most of the movies I've seen him in, he's wielding a gun or hurting somebody. So I don't know if that makes for a good story, but it's damn fun to watch.
Yeah.
If it's fun to watch, it's fun to do, man. I'm telling you.
I'm a big movie buff. I do like my films, and as you say, Dan, about a good story as well, and that's what I liked about the Crumbs. It was a good story, but it was different. As I said to Dan earlier on before we came on, with the Crumbs, it kind of usually you see the killing side, but with the Crumbs, it showed you the family side of the Crumbs family, and they are just a normal family. At the end of the day, okay, they kind of kill people and eat them and stuff,
What was the big guy's name in Crumbs? Sorry, is it Mervyn? the big guy in Crumbs.
Anton.
Anton.
Oh,
Give me
Anton,
1 second,
yeah.
guys. I'm having a hard time hearing you. My microphone went down. I put it up full blast. I'm barely making things out. I'm gonna go turn some stuff off real fast.
Okay. Yeah, Anton was great in that, man. I mean, he really nailed that part. He really nailed it.
I think they really did find the biggest, strongest
Sorry,
man
sorry about that.
actually found in America for that film, because he was so strong. Just watching him just lift everybody up and just do his own thing with them.
Yeah.
And then you would go and see him in the garden getting the herbs.
Yes, exactly. It was a very good contrast for that character, and it worked great. And he played both sides really well. I mean, he's really that strong. He had to be directed to kind of almost downplay his strength a little bit to make sure that everything was safe, because he's strong, man. It's no joke. Yeah.
You talking about Anton?
Yeah.
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 It reminded me a wee bit when I was watching. He's got that gentle side to him, you know, and he's obviously head over heels in love with Victoria, Chelsea. You could, I think that stands out a mile. And it reminded me of the guy I can't remember his name, Michael Duncan, the Michael Clark Duncan from Green Mile. He's passed away now.
Oh,
John Coffey.
John Coffey.
Remember John Coffey?
John Coffey, yeah. So, and absolutely. And he's done that monologue just for acting for class. So he actually can do that John Coffey monologue from that film. Yeah.
Brilliant. I'd like to see that.
I'm not a crier, but he makes me cry.
Yeah, no, he's a gentle giant. So, I mean, that role was perfect for him, because it really did show his strength, you know, the size of him and all of the potential, you know, danger that he could put you in. But at the same time, it also showed his more natural side. You know, his personality is more of a gentle, you know, person and a nice guy. You know, so it was a great role for him, I think.
Is there a series or storyline movie that you would want to work on in future for special effects? Thanks for coming in, Penny. Hope you're good, though.
Hey, Penny.
Dan.
Is there any?
I'm listening. I'm sorry, my volume's all screwed up.
Yeah, read it on the screen. Is there any particular type of movie you'd want to do special effects in?
Oh. Couple. I want to redeem myself for a werewolf movie. I did a werewolf movie a while back, and I really failed that whole costume thing miserably. And then another one I want to do, I don't know, like an alien thing, like not like Aliens, like the 80s great movie, but just create my own alien or something that will become like an iconic character, you know, kind of like a Jason or a Michael Myers or something like that.
Jason, he's the ultimate. I think Jason was one of the ultimate badasses.
Yes.
You know.
I mean, he started out being such a simple monster, but he definitely evolved over his time in the movies. But I grew up on those movies. I loved the Friday the movies. I grew up with I actually had a poster of Jason and Freddy Krueger on my bedroom walls. That was, you know, my childhood. That's
the same as mine.
Stuff that I dug. But yeah,
I see Nicole here.
I personally, for being in front of camera, I would love to be in like a Western type of movie because those characters I think are so cool. I mean, those characters are so distinct. So I wouldn't mind playing a cowboy in a movie. Really, most of what I do anyway, you know, the tactical stuff or, you know, the hitman type stuff, it kind of all stems back to the Westerns anyway, all that kind of cowboy style stuff. But I love that stuff. I wouldn't mind being something like that in front of the camera. As far as camera work, I love just stuff with action. A lot of stuff going on visually to capture, different ways to capture it. Demon Fighter is going to be great because there's going to be, fighting in that movie. So, and that's always a challenge for filmmakers, is to capture that fighting in a interesting way.
Did you ever say that to Dan for we came on? Demon Fighter coming out end of last year, but Dan says it might be further on into this year or possibly next. I can't wait for Demon Fighter to come out. I think it looks really good. If the Crumbs and Murder Down the Road is anything to go by. But as you say, Freddie and Jason, I grew up with them as well, and I was over the moon when they finally brought the two of them together.
Oh yeah, I mean that's just a fan wet dream right there, is being able to see two characters that you grow up with and almost idolize independently meet on screen. That's just amazing.
It reminded me of when the Alien meets the Predator as well, when they brought the two.
I like that one
together.
Yeah, I like the first one. I don't like the Requiem one.
Obviously, the Requiem one wasn't as good. No offense to the people in it. It just, it didn't light my fire very much as the first one did. But when I still went out and bought the DVD, mind you, the Blu-ray, mind you, but I wasn't a big fan of the second one. It just was new. But that's a good.
Well, I mean, the first one, it was just the novelty of being able to see those characters meet. After that novelty's gone, then it all depends on how they do it, And so you were probably a little bit more critical of the story because you've already seen them meet on screen. Now, are they going to make a good story out of it? Otherwise, it's just like the same thing, right?
Well, here's me. Yeah, here's me fanboying. The thing I didn't like about the Predator and Alien, the first one, is the timelines didn't match on any of it. So if you're watching Predator and Aliens, that movie seems kind of like out of spot because Whalen shouldn't be alive at this point in time frame if you go back to the history of the movies. Anyway, that's my only complaint. And before I forget, Nicole, I like working with foam latex.
Say that again?
I like working with foam latex. It's my favorite medium in special effects.
Got it.
Yeah. I've tried the silicone, but it's just, I prefer the foam. It's easier to work with, and I feel like I get more realistic movement out of it when the actors or the celebrities or whoever is wearing them.
With the Alien and Predator film, I think the most powerful scene in the first one was when they're inside the pyramid and the alien lifts up the Predator with his tail, and he turns him round to face him, and the two of them come together.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember that scene, and they've got the background music. That's the very, very first time they actually come face to face.
Right.
I thought that was really...
He sticks him with the tail or something, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly. And I mean, that's just cool. That's a cool scene for sure.
It is. Because you're kind of wondering how an alien's going to be able to fight a predator with all these weapons. I always wondered that. I'm like, how do these guys fight each other?
Yeah.
But they answered that.
He's got a big tail. You got a big tail, you can be a predator. That's how you kill a predator, big tail, basically. There's another one coming out. They done Predators just last year or the year before, and they've got another one coming out, which I'm looking forward to seeing.
Didn't that already come out? That's a Super Predator or whatever. They had like some crazy hunting dogs too.
There's another one. They've left it open because at the end of that one, they find the Predator killer suit thing.
Yeah, it's left behind.
So that's still to come. Alien, the only scene I loved was Alien coming out of the guy's stomach.
Yeah, that's a great scene too, obviously.
Yep.
That's movie history right there. That's legend.
They've spoofed that so many times now, it's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My favorite spoof is what is that? It's not Spaceballs, but it's the Space Pirates, where it's a flea or something. I can't remember the name of the movie. Maybe it's called Space Pirates. I don't know.
It could be. I don't remember that one.
Hi, Steve.
Evening, Steve. Yeah, it's an old '80s movie, dude. It's total B budget. It's
It's one of
slapstick.
those
It's
things
before.
I could have seen it and I don't remember the name. I do remember seeing a lot of the spoofs though. So I may have seen that one and I'm mixing it in with all the other ones, you know?
Yeah, it was a spoof between Star Wars and Aliens.
Okay. Yeah.
I've never seen that one.
I
That's
think
old.
the alien coming out of the stomach. I think that's a scene that's been used so many times in so many different things. You know, as you see, spoof ones and what have you. I think it's one of the. I'll go down as one of the most kind of legendary movie scenes. When he's eating his dinner or whatever, and then he just stands up. I thought it was amazing. The more blood for me, the better.
Well, as a makeup artist, I don't know. As a makeup artist, I try not to use a lot of blood unless it calls for it. Reason being is if you see a lot of blood, that means they didn't do a good job on their makeup because blood hides a lot of your mistakes.
It kind of means that, but I mean, I feel like there's a fine line on this because there's the gore fans, and then there's people that like jump scares, but with regards to gore, I mean, you just kind of expect that there's going to be a lot of blood, right? And so if you expect that, and then you don't get a lot of blood, and you're like, oh, where's all the blood? But I see what you're saying. Like, I mean, you don't necessarily, if you do a good makeup, want to cover it in blood because then, all of the detail gets lost. Yeah. Thanks man.
Dude. You got a beer.
It is a thing.
It is.
I'm the kind of guy, if I watch a film and somebody gets a really, gruesome death, I'll pause it and wind it back and watch it again. And then again.
I'm a bit like that. I'm a bit sick like that. Especially working in the NHS as well. If there's blood or bones or anything sticking out right in there, I'm like, oh, let me see. Fingers and things that shouldn't be in and stuff like that.
Right.
Don't think Dan's not doing that. He's probably trying to figure out exactly how he did those things, so he probably rewinds it a bunch of times and watches it too. Yeah.
Yeah, so I watched the movie the first. I have to watch a movie 3 times. The third time is the time where I can actually sit and watch it, because since I started doing makeup, when I watch movies that have makeup in it, that's the first thing I noticed. Like the other night, my wife was watching some TV show. I don't know the name of it. I just walked in the room, and there was an old lady talking to a young lady. And I sat there and I was sitting there staring at this old lady, and the whole thing was makeup. It was a good job, but it was bad because you could tell that it was makeup. So I'm always noticing little things like that. And then there's the consistency thing, continuity. I notice a lot of that in movies now, too, where something looks like one way, and then they do like a really bad edit splice, and then like say the blood's on the left-hand side, now all of a sudden it's on the right, or it's gone. You know what happened right there?
Yeah, exactly.
That's the stuff I notice now.
Those are the challenges, because we've done some movies where it's being shot over sometimes months, and so they have to redo it. Obviously they're not shooting it next to each other, so you have to figure out how to redo it and make it look as close as possible, so that when they butt those scenes up together, you can't tell so much.
Hey, Clint.
Clint. I think Clint is trolling us. I'm not sure that's a serious statement or not.
I hope so.
Right?
I fell asleep during that movie.
I had to watch it twice just to make sure I didn't miss something.
That's exactly the thing. You've got to watch it again because you're thinking, is there something I missed here? It was that scary.
See, now, Hellraiser is a quality movie right there.
I love Hellraiser. My all-time favorite. I love most of them. The funny thing about Hellraiser, though, is the very first one, it reminds me of Tron, when the hell comes to collect Pinhead again. How his little lines on his head light up in that weird blue, like the motorcycles from Tron. I think that was the big special effect back then. So that's the only thing I don't like about Hellraiser, but yeah, it's one of my all-time favorites.
So that effect may have, if they would have done maybe red instead of blue, maybe it wouldn't have been so so much like it. But they probably just I mean, it's an old movie, so I mean, they did
that was cutting edge back then. Yeah, I'm sure it was cutting edge back then.
Yeah.
Clint's there saying he's not true. Clint's a good guy. Clint's on. He goes into a live that we do at the weekend as well. He's from, I think he's down near Bristol. Clint, correct me if I'm wrong, buddy. Open the box, Mr. Jones. The Hellraiser ones were good. They were. I remember that. Open the box, Mr. Jones.
Right.
What about the Saw films? That
Well, like
You cut out there. I'm sorry, I didn't hear you.
what do you think of the Saw films? The Saw franchise.
Saw movies? I love, me personally, I love the Saw movies, but I had to stop watching them at number 3 because there's a scene in that movie that actually hit too close to home. It's where the kid's on the bicycle and he gets hit by the car and dies. My son got hit by a UPS truck when he was 2 years old. He didn't die, thank God. But watching that movie and that scene came up, it just bugged me, so I never finished it. And I haven't watched the Saw movie since. But I do love the original.
And the whole concept for that movie is just great, having
Right.
basically horror games, so I like that a lot. I actually am an old school Resident Evil fan. And so playing the game, they had all those puzzles and things like that. And it was a survival horror game. So it was great. And so that kind of harkened back to that for me, except they took the whole game and the puzzles and combined them. So I thought that was awesome.
Right.
It was the voice for me. The voice, Jigsaw's voice. I love it. I love the way they done the voice. I could listen to it for hours, just that was a good bit. The human, I watched the human Clinton, but I don't know, no offense. I don't know, it's a bit of a strange one, I think.
That one made me angry, honestly. The Human Centipede. I mean, those girls go into the house. That one girl gets out, right? And she's out of the house. She should have just ran for help. But no, she had to go back for her friend. And then everything that happened in that movie, she deserved.
See,
I mean, why even get out if you're not going to leave, right? Just
right?
stay.
Exactly. And she did. That was just like, that was the dumbest point of the movie, and that's when I stopped watching it. I was like, okay, this is done.
It's like one of those sitting screaming at the TV kind of movies.
Yes,
It's like,
exactly.
there's a serial killer in the kitchen. Why are you going to go into the kitchen?
Right?
It's
that
they're
movies
there.
for me. Common sense is a big thing for me, man.
It makes it harder to believe, for sure.
Yes.
If you could choose, what horror actor would you love to play?
Which horror actor? That's a good question. Go ahead, Shane.
I don't think a horror actor. I mean, I would have to pick something like Hellraiser. I mean, a cool character like that. I don't know if I would go with Freddy because, I mean, his sense of humor was a little bit... I mean, I enjoyed his sense of humor as a character, but I just don't see that as me, So I wouldn't choose that one.
Yeah, so Freddy, I'm not a big Freddy fan. I was at first until I was old enough to understand what he was. And when I found out what he was, I don't understand how people idolize that guy. But that's cool. No, Robert Englund did a great job. I love Robert Englund. I have a few times to meet him and talk to him. But yeah, the overall premise.
Is to idolize him as a individual. It's as a horrible. I mean, a lot of the horror stuff. These people are killers. Like, you don't idolize Hellraiser, do you? I mean, like, he's a
no.
So,
but that's cool though, man. He's like the king of hell.
Yeah. But like I said, they're horrible people. That's the nature of their character. Yeah.
That's a good point.
What about you, Shelley? What's that, Shelley? What character would you be? Yeah, woman's
to be honest, when I was young, and I mean very young, like I would stay up all night and watch Freddy Krueger, Nightmare on Elm Street. That was the film I loved. But I was young, and so I had the T-shirt, like I had the full, black and red top, and I would kind of make the kind of claws and stuff like that, and that's pretty much who I wanted to be at a very young age.
Yeah.
I liked it.
What were you, Sam?
I don't know. I always I used to like watching Pinhead and Hellraiser. I used to like watching that as well, but Freddy wasn't really my thing. I was kind of, and I hate clowns. I'm petrified of clowns. Hate clowns. So absolutely
It is a thing.
petrified of clowns. There is no need for they are not even funny.
You do realise you just said that on YouTube.
I know, but it's all right because everybody sends me killer clowns and everything anyway, so it's fine.
I'd go with Bruce Campbell myself in any of his Evil Dead movies.
Oh,
Evil
yeah,
Dead's
that's
quite
a
good,
good
actually.
one too. I have to admit. So that was a good call, Dan. I can agree
Evil
with that
Dead
for
is
sure.
good.
Thank you.
What was it? Hammer House Horrors.
I've never seen it, so I don't have any input.
Yeah, I haven't seen that either.
No.
Do you not think that the current horror movies, they're quite, how do I put it? You know exactly what's going to happen just before it happens. With like current,
Yeah.
with the current
I actually had some input. Yeah, I actually had some input on that on the Crumbs as well, and they made some changes based on that. But it's kind of hard because there are certain situations that kind of just come up naturally. Like I don't think David and Craig are as big a horror fan as I am and seen as many movies, and so they naturally create a story that does a certain thing, and I'm like, okay, but that's done a dozen times in films, and that's going to be expected. And they're not necessarily aware of it because they don't, they haven't watched quite as many films to know that. And so for horror fans, they're already in it. They kind of start to try and figure out what's going to happen next. And that's why it happens so often. You can figure out what's going to happen next because it's been done over and over and over and over again because these situations just occur during the story writing process.
Final Destination. You never really knew what was going to happen, and they picked away some scenes like deaths they could think of, and the way they planned it to get it to work out the way they did. I thought, I love that.
I can't tell you how hard I laughed during that movie.
Yeah, I mean, because I think it was meant to kind of be laughed at, but they did also do a lot of work around those deaths, and so I appreciated all the work that went into making those things happen because it was like chain reactions, man. It was crazy.
I love the shower scene in that movie.
Which scene?
The shower scene. I think that was the first movie I ever seen a male die in a shower because it's always women,
Yeah,
it's always, isn't it? It's quite predictable. Cujo. Cujo, a film I've never ever seen. I've never ever seen.
It's a classic.
I liked it. Yes, it was like Land Jaws.
Yes,
it was great.
Did you know? Did you know Cujo when he was attacking was actually a man in a suit?
I did not ever think about it really, but no, I did not know that.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of fast. I thought they just trained a big old Saint Bernard, like a couple of them, but like all the big huge scenes where he's busting through the window and going after, that's a dude in a suit. But they did have a real Saint Bernard that they signed up and stuff. But yeah, all the attack parts were a guy in a suit.
Going back to what you said earlier about Michael Myers and things like that, what would you say was your best or your favourite film from the Halloween franchise?
Okay, so Halloween is my all-time favorite. It goes American Werewolf in London, that movie, and then the Aliens. So the only thing about Halloween I hate is number 3. Has nothing to do with any of the movie sequels. But for the most part, I would have to say 4. Yeah, it's the mask
Seasons
one.
of the Witch. Seasons of the Witch one, isn't it?
Hated it.
Yeah, it had nothing to do with anything. And I thought it was probably, I think it was one of those 70s Coke-filled movies. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was terrible. It was
it had a weird
Celtic
feel to it.
rituals and everything in it.
Yeah.
So,
No, I'd say Halloween 4.
Halloween 4.
Yeah, it's my favorite.
Hey, Ghost Witches, thanks for coming in, Doc. Hope you're well. I don't know if I've got... See, Michael Myers, that's why I like Jason, because, Michael Myers was obviously psychotic, what have you. But Jason, you know, he get killed so many times. I think
Yeah.
every
He
movie,
kept coming back.
you know, he was shot, stabbed, electrocuted, drowned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he tried
The
everything.
gift that keeps on giving.
I think that's why if I had to choose a character, I'd be Jason. Because I think he's the ultimate badass. He just does, you know, he just doesn't care. You don't need to have done anything to him. He'll just, you know, you're dead.
Just got a chip on his shoulder in
Right.
general.
Yeah.
You know, the guy who plays Jason, the last one, Kane Hodder, he's a badass in real life too, not just in the movie.
Oh, is
Yeah.
he?
Yeah. Oh, he's an awesome guy, man. He got his career started as a stuntman.
Right.
Yeah. So
And that kind of makes sense because I mean, he since you can't see his face, all of his acting is through his body, his moving his body. And
right.
I was actually on the set of a film where they wanted him to do that. Like he does this thing where he stands and he like just kind of breathes heavy
Yes.
to be menacing, just standing there. And I mean, all of those little things. Like if you don't do that, you don't really have much of a character because he's just a guy standing there. You can't see what he's thinking. I mean,
Right.
and you're not necessarily scared of him, because he's not doing anything. You can't see his face. He's not saying anything. He doesn't have any dialogue. So I mean,
So he
those
doesn't need
characters-
to. He's showing
No.
it himself, so he doesn't actually have to say anything because the persona's there.
Right.
Right,
The thing-
and that persona has to be built up through just how he moves and the things he does over time, kind of. And so I
Yeah.
think it was a great idea picking a stunt guy to do that character because they're all about moving their body, acting with their bodies,
Yeah.
basically.
And he
Yeah.
sells it well too. He's very believable.
Absolutely.
The thing about Jason for me was in all the films, you'll see people running away from him, whether it's through a forest, and they see me run for miles and miles. You never ever see Jason running. He just walks.
He just appears.
He always catches up with him.
Yeah, exactly. He's a fast walker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, apparently the backstory on Jason, he's got like some kind of weird teleportation thing that goes on. That's how he's able to walk fast.
I mean, that makes sense because he's never moving more fast. It's just not possible for him to catch
Right.
people at the speed he's moving. Yeah.
It's like teleporting. Teleporter. He's here 1 minute and gone the next.
Yeah.
Running, and big Jason's like that. You know what? I'm coming to get you, and he just strolls out.
Boom, he's there.
Yeah. Hell, he'll even go to space to get you, man. He don't care.
Yeah, that one I was not. I'm still not sure about the space one. I just
No,
don't
it's a
know.
horrible one.
Alien versus Jason.
Yeah. Oh no. Well, yeah, that would be interesting, but I don't see it much different than Predator versus Jason, except for he's so immortal. I guess you can't really kill him, so I'm not sure what the point of that is. They would have to just launch him into space or something like that because they can't kill him. Try and throw him.
It'll
Just
be
off
a-
the solar system and bounce back.
Into a black hole.
Nicole's asking how many famous actors besides yourselves do you know? And were there a few, how do I say, diva-like? Have you ever worked with any diva actors or actresses?
Well,
I have
I'm not gonna say any names, but I have. I've worked with two, and it creates a different feeling on the set. But my job is to do makeup and not worry about the person's personality or who they are. I'm there to do one thing and to make sure I do my job the best I can. I could really care less if they're diva-like or not. It doesn't change the way I do my job.
I've had kind of the opposite experience, and when I've met people who are famous, like they already made it in the career, and I think it's probably the environments I meet them in is like cons or something like that.
Yeah.
Those people are some of the nicest people I think I've ever met, and it could be that they, because they've decided to put themselves in the, a public place, they, either are naturally like that or they're putting that face on. But some of those people are the nicest people I've ever met. I might, what was his name? Michael, the guy from Hills Have Eyes.
Oh yeah. I forgot his name, but I know who you're talking about.
is a super nice guy, and I was just shocked at how sweet he was, and he's got this look to him that kind of gives you the feeling one way, and he acts these characters on the screen, but the guy is a super nice guy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You guys might know this cat. My favorite person I ever worked with was Malcolm McDowell. That dude is super cool. He's probably he's the most laid back dude I've ever met in my life.
Yeah, I've watched him a few. I've seen a few of his movies. I mean, see, Steve, I just forget to Steve's question. We were talking about, like divas and nice laid back people. That's what I found with, I say, you, Dan and Shane yourselves, and also I spoke to Anton, Chelsea, Jeff and Maria as well, David. I spoke to them all, and they're all laid back, down to earth.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
As I say, we've got the 4 characters from the Crumbs coming on as well, and so I chat to them. We've got our own individual chat rooms, or chat away to them, and they're just normal people. And I think sometimes people get a kind of bad image of actors and actresses because of maybe one or two spoil the pot.
They're usually very, very outwardly a certain way, to a point where they just get a lot of attention because of that. When you're laid back, people don't really notice you unless you're like interacting with them, like, oh, that guy was super cool. And they probably don't get talked about a lot because they're just super chill and things like that. Yeah. Whereas the ones that are acting like a fool, they get all the attention, they get all the media. And so more about those situations than the other ones.
As I say, Anton, Matthew as well, David, Craig, everybody that I've spoke to and keep speaking to, they're all laid back and they're just normal people. They're all accomplished in their own fields, the same as you two guys are. But at the end of the day, they're normal, down to earth people that have got, normal.
I think the cast of the Crumbs was phenomenal, as well as Demon Fighter. But I think the people who were working on the Crumbs got to see an actress start to become somebody. This is just my personal opinion, Chelsea. I think she's destined for stardom. I mean, I think she's a fantastic actress. Mm-hmm. I think we got to see the raw version of her before she develops into something great later on down the road. That's just my opinion. Working with Maria was awesome. Jeff Hatch, the dude he's an awesome cat, pretty much even all the extras, man. I loved all the extras too.
Like Chelsea won. She won the leading lady award at the Utah Film Awards. Chelsea.
Yes, she did. I think she won that while we were filming the Crumbs.
That was Matthew said with the Crumbs. I didn't know he's actually all lived in the place that it was filmed when you were filming it.
Sorry, my thing went out.
I think it was after we finished Crumbs. Yeah, because I remember the news being kind of distributed around. I think it was after we finished wrapping the Crumbs. But I think it was possibly on a movie she had already made. The movie was already done.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So I mean, she definitely had talent when she made it to our set. I mean, Craig and David are really good about making sure that the actors win the roles that they get in, and so I mean, unless they're able to act one way during an audition and then can't perform that way on set, they're pretty much guaranteed a good actor on set, because they do a lot of work to make sure that they get auditions, and probably a lot of times they give feedback on auditions and make sure that they can take direction as well before they ever make it on set.
Mm-hmm. Steve's asking your thoughts on the first Evil Dead film.
I think it's groundbreaking.
I mean,
that's just classic, man. If it wasn't for Evil Dead, I don't think the FX or makeup scene would be where it is today. Who was it? It was Greg Nicotero, Howard Berger, and I can't remember the other guy's name. Starts with a K. Anyway, those guys, they took it and pushed it to the limit. I think that's what made 80s horror classic. I mean, I just absolutely love that movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I have nothing. I mean, it's a lower budget version of Evil Dead 2, so they're basically the same movie, but essentially,
Right.
they wouldn't have made it. They wouldn't have remade it for Evil Dead 2 unless it had, didn't have any good story to it. I mean, it had humor in it. I mean, they did a lot of good stuff in that movie that basically has been repeated again over and over and over
Yes.
again in horror films. Is so good, just people enjoyed it so much.
Yeah. Well, with the first one, or with the second one, they took out all the slow stuff, all the non-essentials, the stuff that didn't go with the storyline, like the extra friends and stuff. I think the second one was better, but the first one's my favorite out of that series.
I prefer the second one just because it's got they just do more work with the camera work and things like that, just because it is a more refined version of basically the first one. The first one was us doing the indie thing and making it work, and they had a short amount of time to do it all in, and it was probably horribly under budgeted, all this stuff.
Right.
And
people taking mortgages out on their homes.
Yeah, exactly. I'm a camera guy, so I appreciate time being spent on how I'm going to capture the images and stuff. And they probably spent a lot more time doing that for the second one, just because they had the budget and they had the time to be able to make it, fine tune it and make it really good. Really good.
I always remember the Evil Dead. I don't know what it's like in the States, but over in the UK, where I lived with the Evil Dead, with the tree scene.
Yes.
That was a major talking point for I don't know how long. Have you seen the Evil Dead? Have you seen the tree scene? Have you seen the trees? I went on and on and on for I don't know, months and months. It was quite original. I thought the way they done it.
No, it was at that time. It was very original, kind of scary, but original.
I mean, even just the shots coming through the forest, all of that stuff. I don't remember that stuff before. And honestly, a lot of people don't even do a lot of work to recreate that, even though it is amazing, man. Those shots that come through the forest, that zoom through, are awesome. Yeah. And they really kind of build attention. Yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. They had to do that by hand, They probably had some kind of rig that they were, moving through the forest. It's crazy.
What's your thoughts on special effects in the series Supernatural? I've never watched it, so
I'm a fan of Supernatural.
My daughter's a huge fan of Supernatural. I've only watched 3 episodes, so I don't really have a comment on their special effects.
Yeah, and I can't even think of specific special effects in it. I mean, it's a lot of the characters just look like people, but it's a great story. I love that story. That's a story I would love to be in. Those 2 characters, the Winchesters, man, that's cool. Those are cowboys right there. They're cowboys.
Steve's saying, I'm sure they banned in the UK for the Evil Dead. Possibly is right. I think they did ban it over here for the first few months in the UK. The Evil Dead because of the tree scene. But Nicole's made a good point there as well. Some low budget films are quite good.
We make low budget films. Our films are super low budget. And what makes oftentimes the difference is the time spent thinking about how you're going to do the stuff when you're going to do it. Because we shot, I believe, both the Crumbs and Demon Fighter in 2 weeks, right? Oh, yeah. And so for us to be able to pull off a lot of the stuff that we do in that kind of time frame, it takes us probably months in advance on trying to plan things, know what we're doing way before we get there. I mean, for Dan, Dan can't just show up on set and have stuff that he needs to be able to do some of the things unless he knows what's going on before he gets there. So a lot of that planning is what makes the difference between what you might think and being good at the work also, it makes a difference. But being able to plan up to the day that you start shooting and then being creative about how you solve the problems once you run, because you're going to run into problems no matter what. But if you've got a good production going on, so that you have an idea of what's supposed to happen, and so that things move smoothly, and then when you finally do hit a problem, which you're going to hit, then you could spend some time and figure out how to work through that problem in a way that it still looks okay, or you scrap it. In some cases, if something's going to take too long, you just say, okay, we can't do that, and you'll have to cut that scene and move on and continue the process until we're finished.
Mm-hmm. If the idea the story is good, one does need to have huge special effects to make it hard.
That's true.
With I mean, as I was saying to David and Craig when we came in, you've got your big Hollywood blockbusters, and they spend millions of pounds making them. And don't get me wrong, I do like some of them, but when I watched Evil Down the Street, it's a low budget indie film, but I found the storyline really interesting. It was different. That's what caught my eye, as it did the Crumbs again. It's an indie film. And to be honest with you, I hadn't really watched a lot of indie films prior to them. And I watched the Crumbs, and I liked the way it turned out. I liked the way the actors worked together, and the way it all kind of came together. And I'm not just saying because you guys are on. I've said it to a few people. That's what attracted the Crumbs as well, because of the way it was put together, and because of the ending. I hate films where the good guys always win. You get fed up because every film the good guys win. And there's quite a few times I've sat and I've thought, why can't the bad guys no win for a change?
Yeah. And sometimes it is, it's not very unlikely for that to happen. I'm sure the bad guys get away several times before they ever get caught. So for the movie just not to show that they've been caught yet isn't, maybe some people don't find that to be an appropriate conclusion, but I think it leaves it open-ended for people to think about, well, what happens next, because now they've killed a person who's been looking for somebody. Does somebody, do people know about him being there? He didn't have a reservation. He could be out there on his own, but if people know where he's at and what he's doing, then people may be coming for them. They don't know. So what happens next, But to speak on the acting versus the special effects, both of them play together, going back to that bullet scene. If you didn't have it looking that good, his acting, even though it was good acting, probably wouldn't has made that scene what it was. And the same is, even though that looks great, if he wasn't acting like he was in agonizing pain, again, you wouldn't really, feel it, And so there's some things where if the acting and the special effects isn't good, that it's going to take away from the other thing. You just won't sell it.
Hey, on that bullet scene, that was a change up. That wasn't supposed to be filmed that way, if I remember correctly. We were going to do the digging out. I had built a prosthetic. It was an extra piece from another prop in the movie that the prosthetic was supposed to go over that, and they were just going to pan tight on that and then dig it out of the prosthetic that I made. Well, the guy who plays that part, I was fortunate enough when he was able to lay down, I was able to put the prosthetic actually on him, and they were able to use it on the person, so they got the whole full scene, so there were no splices together, which was nice about that. It just worked out beautifully.
Just before we finish up, I know he's a busy man. A question I need to ask you. I'm not going to give anything away about the Crumbs, but you both know, we know the final scene in the Crumbs. Is it left it open for a follow-up?
I think so. I mean, I don't know. I'm not the writer, but yeah,
it does leave it open for possibly something else. But whether or not something else will happen is another story. I don't know how many movies that I've watched where it's ended with something happening at the end where you're like, oh my gosh, it's not dead yet, or oh, they're gonna make another one, and it just never happens. But so that's a natural kind of conclusion for a lot of horror films, is like something at the end tells you, oh, it's not over yet, and yet it's over. That's it.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens, but that may be the end.
I would like to see a Crumbs 2 or a follow-up.
I wouldn't mind doing it by any stretch of the imagination. I thought the characters were, the actors obviously were really cool to work with, and the characters were interesting. I would totally be down to do another Crumbs, and so yeah.
Could you imagine how well they would gel now that they've already worked with each other? They know each other's, habits and what they're going to do and say. I think that would just be more natural if they did a second one myself. The family.
I think it would be good. But we will be getting you back on. I'm just going to hold on you for a couple of minutes after we come up, if that's all right.
No, not a problem.
The two years. So we're going to wrap up there, folks. If you've not seen The Crumbs, definitely go on Amazon Prime and give it a watch. Same as Evil Down the Street as well. Two brilliant films, absolutely amazing. Well worth, it's a different kind of films, So thanks very much, Dan and Shane, for coming in, and Sam. We'll keep a hold of you as well. Do you disappear?
I was good talking to you guys. It's fun.
Thank you. This has been fun. I fully enjoy this.
Well, as I said, Dan earlier on, I was saying to Dan earlier on before we come on that, obviously we got Anton, etc. coming on. But then after that, I wanted to do a kind of Crumbs reunion live.
Oh, yeah, that would be cool, yeah.
Totally down for it.
Yeah.
Where we get you on and you can all chat away, basically, So that's in the box as well. But we'll take your edges now, folks. We're back on Saturday with Michael Brown, the executive producer at Amazon Prime, and he's also an investigator in the TV series The Haunted State. So we'll see you back then. So till then, have a nice night and stay safe, folks. Thank you.
You do the same. Good night.
Enjoy.